What is up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And today we are doing a draft review on the Detroit Lions. And let's get right into it with some of my guidelines when I talk about the draft. And the first things first, was there a plan coming into the draft? And for the Lions, I'm not 1,000% sure. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm going to say best available, but I do want to add the caveat that their board would have been very different than my board if best available was kind of where they were going with that. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. What do I know? They know their team more than I do. So I'm going to say best available, but I got to be honest with you guys, especially in the tail end of the draft or in the mid rounds, I probably would have valued other players differently, but that just is what it is. As far as did they add an offensive lineman within the first 4 rounds, you cannot name a bad team with a good offensive line. I think it's so important to constantly be adding depth and starting pieces to that position specifically. And yes, they did absolutely add an offensive lineman. And last but not least, did they attack the strength of the draft? And in this case, it was wide receiver. And yes, the Lions did add a wide receiver, even though I would argue the Lions are pretty set at the wide receiver position. They still added one late, which is exactly what I want to see from every team. Get some depth at the position because like wide receivers, for example, this draft, every single wide receiver in this draft fell down the board from where they probably would have been in other drafts because of how deep this class was from top to bottom. So the fact that a guy that maybe fell into the 6th round probably would have been a fringe 5th or 4th round guy in other drafts. So that's kind of what I mean by that. And it just makes too much sense not to add immediate value with guys like that, even if you don't really need help at the position. But all right, guys, let's dive into the picks. The Lions had 4 picks inside the first 3 rounds, and we're going to talk about them right now. With the 3rd pick in the draft, the Lions do take Jeff Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State, and this is an all-star pick. I mean, there's not a lot to say here, is there? I mean, we're talking about an absolute stud at the cornerback position. If I wanted to get super nitpicky, I would probably say that I thought Derrick Brown was probably the better prospect. I probably had him graded higher overall than Jeff Okudah. That's such a nitpicky thing to say, though. At the end of the day, this is a position of need for the Lions, and they take one of the best players in the class. I mean, getting one of the top 4 defensive players in this class is huge, and they got one of them. So bravo to the Lions. That's just kind of one of those things where they got lucky. They didn't trade out of this pick, although it was rumored that they were going to try to. At the end of the day, I just don't think there was a team that was willing to move up. So that's kind of how it goes with things like that. In round 2, pick number 35 overall, the Lions make a kind of a surprising pick by taking DeAndre Swift out of Georgia, running back out of Georgia. And to me, this is surprising, not because DeAndre Swift didn't deserve to be the 35th overall pick. He did. I think this is exactly where his range was. I mean, it was the end of the 1st round, beginning of the 2nd. We knew there was going to be a run on those top end running backs in the 2nd round, and DeAndre Swift was like the first of the running backs to go in the 2nd round. It made a lot of sense. I didn't have a problem with that from that angle. But for the Lions, who just got Kerryon Johnson in the 2nd round 2 years ago, it was a little bit of surprising to me. I will say Kerryon Johnson is incredibly injury prone at this point in his career. That's just a fair thing to say about him. He has not been able to stay on the field consistently, so I understand the pick from that aspect. But for me, the Lions just kind of took a luxury pick here in the 2nd round when I don't feel like they could afford it. I feel like there was other places they could have gone with this pick, maybe more valuable spots that they could have attacked, as opposed to DeAndre Swift, who at this point, I think running back, even in the 2nd round, is still a luxury pick for a lot of teams, unless you just absolutely have nobody at the running back position. And that wasn't the case with the Lions. They had a running back at the position, but they obviously valued DeAndre Swift very highly, and you can't blame him. He was an excellent running back in college. In the 3rd round, number 37 overall, the Lions do take Julian Okwara, and I do apologize if I got that name wrong there. And I'll be honest with you guys with Julian here. I did not value him in the top 100. He was a guy who I did watch in the pre-draft process, and he was somebody that I truly did not expect to go in that day 1 or 2 range, but he does go here at number 37 overall, and I don't get it at this point in the draft. I hate to be kind of negative here for the Lions. I understand that he does have the upside, but to me, this is a guy who couldn't win against that Georgia offensive line, which granted, that Georgia offensive line was really, really good. But at the end of the day, when you have film on a guy against NFL talent and he can't really win at all, that's scary to me. That's not somebody who I value in the 3rd round. There's definitely upside for this pick, but to me, I just didn't see a guy that had a pass rush move to speak of, and I felt like he struggled versus the run, and just it was not incredibly athletic to me either. So from every angle, I just didn't understand this pick for the Lions. Probably my least favorite pick of the Lions draft altogether, just for the value that he was there at number 67 overall. I did not see that in any way, shape, or form. And with their 2nd pick in the 3rd round, number 75 overall, the Lions actually trade up to this pick to land Jonah Jackson, guard out of Ohio State, who is a project at the position, but does come with exceptional upside as a starting guard in the NFL. A guy who maybe won't be able to come in right away and take over as a starter, but I do believe after a year or 2 in the NFL, he will be a solid starter at his position. As far as draft day trades, there weren't any blockbuster trades by any means for the Colts. They did have 2 trades, the first one being one that I already talked about. They traded up to pick number 75 to draft the guard out of Ohio State. They ended up giving up a 5th round pick and essentially swapping 6th round picks to make that deal, to trade up about 10 spots in that 3rd round. So a good trade, a good understanding of value with that trade right there. And then they're able to recoup that 5th round pick by trading down in the 4th round and gaining pick number 172 overall, which was a lot lower than the 5th round pick that they originally gave up. But at the end of the day, they were able to maneuver the board the way they saw fit and gave up essentially no value altogether. They lost a couple positions spots, but at the end of the day, they came in with that 5th round pick and picked that 5th round pick either way. So it worked out for him in my opinion. As far as my favorite move in their draft, I think it was kind of a slam dunk pick, taking Jeff Okudah, getting a star at the cornerback position. I think that was a slam dunk move for a team that it highly values the cornerback position. Especially, you got to think this is a team that comes from the Patriots way of doing things, and that involves highly valuing the cornerback position especially. So taking Jeff Okudah, that's just a star-studded player that's going to come in and probably can be considered an all-pro right off the bat. And as far as my least favorite move, I kind of talked about it at length. I did not understand taking the linebacker of Notre Dame, Julian Okwara. Again, I'm probably butchering that name, but I just didn't get it. I did not see the value for him as a top 100 player, let alone a top 70 player, landing there at 67 overall. That just didn't make a lot of sense to me. And as far as the biggest surprise of this draft, I was incredibly surprised that the Lions went running back in the 2nd round. I believe they had a lot more needs that they probably could have addressed at the top of the 2nd round, with a lot of really good players still on the board. I mean, there was a couple, there were a bunch of different safeties and corners that they probably could have doubled up at that position and really fixed the secondary for the Lions pretty much in 1.5, 2 days. Instead, they take a running back, which I don't want to hate on it too much, because obviously DeAndre Swift is an incredibly talented player, and I think he will fit in well there, especially if Kerryon Johnson continues to struggle with injuries as he has up to this point in his career. But at the end of the day, it just felt like more of a luxury pick than a incredible need for the Lions, and for a team that was picking 3rd overall for a reason, I don't think they could afford to take the luxury pick there. All in all, I am going to give this draft a B plus. I think they did a lot of good things. I liked a lot of their picks in this draft. Certain picks that I at least maybe had questions about, and one or two that I just didn't like altogether. But at the end of the day, I think they made some good draft day moves. They maneuvered the board very well. They attacked positions of need while also probably getting the guys that I think were the best available players on their board as well. So all in all, I think a very good draft for the Lions. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought about this Lions draft. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite pick? And where do you think I'm wrong? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and check back for more videos soon. Peace out, guys. Bye.